Okay, so a few of you wanted to make something that was more along the lines of like a trident fork, sort of that effect. Less so, meaning that it would make less sense to try to make it flat and extrude it up, even if it were in the form workspace, but rather starting as something round. So what I can do here, now you could start this as a sketch here or in the form workspace, doesn't matter. So I'll show you, might as well do it that way. We'll start in the form workspace, change over. You can still create a sketch in the form workspace, which is exactly right where it usually is. So I'll start in the side. I'll start with the first part. I don't know. We're going to pretend that like it's going to go to the left. So something handle, something over here. We'll just say that's 160. I don't know. Works for me. Okay, cool. So from here, I would probably do something like a fit point spline. I'm just using right in the middle for no particular reason. It just seems about right. I'm just creating a spline there. If I want this to be a copy, you can certainly mirror that line over. So all I'm doing here is starting by creating a path because that's wonky little sketch object, like a just full-on stick figure drawing. Create, and you can use the pipe tool in Form Workspace. But you can see, obviously, it creates a bunch of segments. So just like we did before, here, now that's set on square. It's, don't worry about how wide or how square that is right now. It's okay. That's just showing a portion. But I do obviously want to make that a lot thinner. So I don't know. Let's turn that down from 20 millimeters to like 2. Okay, cool. Because all that is showing, the reason it's a rectangle, it's a square right now, is because it's how it's displaying. You see in the toolbox here, it goes from box mode to smooth mode. That's it. So essentially, the square is just the simplified visual version. It's not actually changing anything yet. It's just a visualization. You can add in the sides, and you see what happens when I create the sides. It automatically joins that in. So meaning that's actually blending in to the part. Now, a pipe tool does leave this thing open, but you can play around with. There are ways you can, there are other tabs on this toolbox: open, square, spike.
It's a three-pointed straw.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and segments is just, if you want to make this like again, a lot less potent, or sorry, not potent, but a lot less complex. That's just dialing back the complexity. So that's where you could add that in. So obviously there's a few more steps involved in this, but you don't have to do everything first. Meaning if you had just started with just that rod, we can also expand off of that. You can leave the ends open. You can add complexity if you want. The more complexity it has, the smoother it'll be, but there's more points to try to control. But play around with these tools. There's a lot more options and within the form workspace, but that'll get you there. From there, you can obviously, if you wanted to start making spikes and things. Now, right now, there's no symmetry, so you'll have to either work all of these individually or find a way to apply symmetry. But things like if I wanted to flare sections out, well, I can select by edges here and maybe do like a uniform scale, blow that up. Okay, now I've just made it like blunted. But you could do something to that effect, or maybe instead of selecting those, instead, like I said, you need to build this off of like a reference point, meaning if I expanded, you saw what happened when I had it right at the front, kind of blunted the whole thing. But here, if I expand it out here, I still have a bit of a point. Problem is, it's still really sharp, or it's still really floppy. But there are other tools like crease. Now that I've expanded that section, I could use the crease tool, double click that, make that sharper. Okay, now it's a bit of a point. Now I'd have to go through and maybe do something to the effect of drag those, bring that section closer. I'm getting some weird results here. I think I missed a point.
Yeah.
Looks like it, but Now that I have a crease, I can drag this a little bit closer. And again, I'm built off of things, meaning I have to have a reference point. I needed to expand this section here before I could move that piece closer, or that next ring of points closer. That would give me points right up against each other. So like when we're working with fit point splines, if you make them too far apart, you get a nice smooth curve. But if you wanted a sharp point, you either needed to start and stop a point or drag them or make your points much closer together. And this is just the same thing. If I was trying to flatten this, maybe I'd take the whole to do there. Ooh, way too many. So maybe I would take all of these by vertex and then orbit over and maybe like use a scale and shrink it in one direction. And now it's a bit flatter. So there's a lot of different ways you can manipulate things. The difficult thing here is, great, I made the one. Now how do I make the others? That's where you'd have to put in symmetry, things like that. Stuff like that, I have found what might be easier to do is, instead of making your tines all at the same time, maybe instead play with the symmetry. I don't even know how you're going to go about this. Yeah, symmetry doesn't work on that way. You'd probably be better off actually creating these individually and then mirror it across, something to that effect. But play around. You can obviously get some pretty good results just by playing around with the different tools. But I would say maybe with a pipe tool, use fewer segments and then add complexity later. And lots of errors. Not sure where it is
My
this
guess
time.
is
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah, probably from that. So as y'all are working, that's perfectly fine. But one thing I wanted to show is, if you are getting errors and you're try your repair mode, auto repair. Oh, ironically, it's not over there. Oh, I guess it was. Major part there was, might have to like drag just that point out more, to that effect.
it's a stubborn trident.
Yeah, I know, right? But if you're having difficulty seeing where things are, this is what I was talking about, why it started off as like a box. You can play with what the display mode is, which is just this symbol where it looks like the kind of roundy thing going to a boxy thing. That's exactly what it is. Just like using the section analysis to cut the thing in half so you can see something in cross section, doesn't actually affect your model at all. Same thing here. I just turned it to box mode so I can see things a little more clearly. And sometimes it's because of the lack of complexity. You can then see like, oh, maybe you can clearly see something that is overlapping another, and then you can untangle it a little bit. Things like that. Not actually altering the project at all, just how it's being visualized. Yes.
Could you alter it so that the tip stays boxy and the rest of it rounds out?
You could try. Yes. The question is, can you actually make some things intentionally boxy? Yeah, totally. So let me change it back to regular smooth mode. So let's play. So from there, try using the creases on different lines.
Oh, right.
So it's trying to select all kinds of things here. So I'm just selecting these as I go along. Oh, I see what I did. I missed this line underneath here when I was making things sharp. So something got wonky here. Yep, that was when I was making these originally sharp. I missed a couple lines. There you go. So now it is in round display mode, but because of using the crease lines, it did sharpen up those corners. But yeah, you can totally make things intentionally angled. Different things to play about with. Same thing you could do, like make handles. You want to expand a section, do exactly that. Now that you have things rounded, maybe you want to make a handle section. This whole thing here, I don't know. maybe we use a scale tool. Nope, nope, nope. Other way, other way, other way, other way. God, this is really getting to be mess with me here. Maybe I want to expand it outward. So now I have like actual sections that are where like the handle would be. Same thing. If I wanted to sharpen any of that stuff up, switch back over to crease and like double click those. Away you go. Things like that. If you want to make distinctions, crease tool is the way to go. So yeah, those are different ways you could go about making your roundy things sharp and pointy. What's up?
Could you like corkscrew it? I kind of think that would error the bejesus out of the system.
You would have to be careful. Yeah,
Okay.
kind of like so. The question on that one is, can you make a progressive twist? That would probably be better done rather than as is. Split that section, and when we did the rings and make
Yeah.
a sweep, I would say chop off that section, use that profile, and then do a sweep along that straight path and rotate it and twist it. So that would be, again, combination of stuff. Maybe from there, if we're trying to do something to that effect, I don't know. Let's just delete a whole section here. I still have that path. Oop, oop, oop. And maybe some of this effect. So now I have, just like we did for the spoon, it's all open-ended. Let's go to crease again. Or not crease, sorry. I wanted to, let's try, where is it? Flatten. Doesn't always work. Sometimes it gets a little difficult to see what I'm doing here. No, that one's not going to work. Nope. Maybe straight. Oop. Not at all getting a result that I want. So maybe I have to try creasing that edge. I'm not really sure. Oh, there we go. Add complexity as you like. But now let's try a sweep of, it's gonna ask me to use a straight profile. So maybe I'd have to like create a sketch on that and then sweep it. Different ways to add complexity, but yeah, that's ideally I was trying to just select this as a profile, not letting me, but I can still select that original line as a path, and then you can just sweep it along.
It sounds like it would be rough to do.
Just extra steps of exactly what we've done. So yeah, I would have to create a sketch right here, and then I could sweep that along that path. But that would work. Yeah. And then eventually you could rejoin these sections together with a bridge or something to that effect. Yeah, that would work.